In today's video, I want to talk about AI workflows. Specifically, there's one AI workflow in content creation that I would absolutely implement from day one. It's something so simple, but 99% of business owners and content creators are not even aware that it exists. Done in the right way, it can very quickly double your content output that's really high quality or your business lead flow while cutting your content production time to just 10 minutes a day. Hi, my name is Rachel, and in this video, I'm going to break down this entire process for you step by step, including the exact tools I use and the one mistake that most people make that keep their content from converting. As a business owner, there are two main ways you should be using AI in marketing right now. Number one is to write text-based content. Number two is to produce videos, and both formats are designed for the same purpose, which is to attract your ideal audience online and convert them into paying clients. In today's video, we're going to go deep in the first category, which is to show you how you can actually use AI to help you create text-based marketing content that you can post across all social media, such as Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and even Facebook. The reason that we start with text-based content in this video instead of category two, which is producing videos, is because compared to producing videos, which is really a multi-step process that involves research, scripting, filming the video, and editing all of that, which is really a lot of work, writing a text-based content is a lot easier. It's also faster for AI to automate for you, and it delivers direct results in client acquisition. Okay, so let me take the next 30 seconds and quickly give you an example. All right, so let's say hypothetically you are a small business owner that sells sales coaching. You post something valuable on LinkedIn. Maybe it's a piece of content that talks about 6 steps to boost your sales conversion rate. And at the end of the post, maybe your call to action would be inviting them to book a call with either you or your team to learn more about how you can help them in detail, right? Or if you're building more of a long-term funnel, you can invite them to grab a free checklist or a mini training, something that's free but really valuable in exchange for them to opt into your email list. They can build an ongoing relationship with them. So that one post created and optimized by AI can actually turn a stranger into a potential paying client for your business in a mostly automated way. So let me show you the exact process. There are 4 steps to this workflow. The first step here is you need to create a few proven content categories that you will want your AI to write about. The second step here is you need to gather a training document of your favorite past posts that you will need to feed your AI. The third step here is you need to select an AI tool to execute on this workflow. I'll compare a few of the most popular options in the market, and I'll give you my recommendation. And lastly, you'll need a specific prompt to guide your AI to start writing for you. It's actually quite simple, so I'll go through each step with you in detail and show you what needs to be done. So the first step is to create a few proven content pillars, or more accurately, content categories that you would want your AI to write about on behalf of you. Typically 4 to 7 different types of content categories that you want your AI to taste through in the future. And the reason you want to create this first is because you don't want to be stuck in this brainstorming mode every single day before you're going to write a new piece of content, right? Because that's going to be very inefficient and time consuming. I used to make this mistake. I used to spend at least an hour to try to come up with a new content topic every single time. And trust me, over time, it's going to burn you out. Categories that worked really well for me when I'm trying to post social media. Number 1 category is personal transformation and motivational post. Those are the here's what I've been through moments that you talk about to build trust and connection. And the second type is what we're all familiar with, which is how to post. Typically refer to tips, guides, quick tutorials, step-by-step breakdowns. And the third type here is contrarian life or business lessons. So our brains are wired in a very strange way. If we are taught or grew up believing that something, for example, a traditional wisdom or consensus is true, and someone comes out and says, hey, the opposite is actually true and here's why, then we feel really curious and compelled to read and see why, right? This is why this type of post I've noticed, it does really well and stand out very quickly. The fourth type here is client testimonials. So this includes all your client stories, client wins, before and after results, screenshots, any social proof. And the last one here is free reviews or audits. And those are typically sales posts that offer value upfront in the format of a free call, whether it's a free consultation, a free assessment, a free review that I just mentioned, that implies value in exchange of someone's time and attention and actually getting on the call with you, where you can get to know them better, see how you can help them, whether you're going to be a good fit. Also, during the call, you can showcase your expertise at the same time, therefore leading to a sales call. The second step here is you need to gather a training document to feed to your AI tool. This training document is essentially a collection of your favorite influencers or writers' past content in the same or similar format. The reason that this is very important is because the quality of your input really determines the quality of your output when it comes to building AI workflows. Okay, so garbage in, garbage out. If you feed not great training document to your AI tool, it's not going to give you really awesome output. But vice versa, if you are able to provide your AI tool with very specific high quality content, then it will try to imitate not the actual content, but the style and the structure of your document. So you're going to be able to have much higher quality output as a result of that. So what you will do here is you will go onto the social media platform you plan to post on, right? For example, if you plan to post more on LinkedIn, you go onto LinkedIn. If you plan to post more on Instagram, you go onto Instagram, etc. And then you will find your favorite influencer or writers' past content, and then you will paste them, literally paste all of them in one single Google Word document. Typically, 1 month or 2 month worth of content is enough for the training document. Let me show you an example here. As you can see, this document is my own document that has my favorite influencers' content in the past from last October to last November. 1 month worth of content compiled in one document that I will use for my training document. Now, what you want to do here is you want to go to the social media platform and directly copy and paste their content over. So let's say, in this case, mine is on LinkedIn. Now, if yours is on Instagram, you would go to Instagram. If yours is on Twitter, you would go to Twitter instead. So here I go to LinkedIn and I go to the top search bar and directly type in his name. And then I was able to find his LinkedIn profile. And then I clicked into his profile and scroll all the way down. I was able to find a section called Activity. The name of this section might vary depending on which social media platform it is. On LinkedIn, it's called Activity, where it stores all this creator's past content. And then from there, one of the subtabs here is called Posts. And I click into there, and there was all of his past content. So then what I did was I just literally copy and paste all of his past content. For example, post 1, putting on here, post 2, post 3, post 4, and I just went all the way down and copied this 1 month worth of content into this one Google Word document. And I'm going to use it for my training document. Now, the third step here is you need to choose an AI tool to actually execute your workflow on. And there are two really popular options in the market, ChatGPT and Claude. Both could work, okay, with this specific workflow. And feel free to try either one of them. But if I were to choose, I would recommend Claude, because Claude is not only better at remembering all the context from a long form content, but also it's a little bit more creative and has a more conversational and natural tone, which goes a long way. So everything I'm going to share in the next step, which is creating that specific prompt to drop in Claude, you can also feel free to apply into ChatGPT as well. So let me do a screen share and show you the entire prompt here, because I think it's easier to follow and understand. So what you're looking at this document is the actual prompt that you're going to use to feed to Claude or your chosen AI tool, so he knows how to write the ideal type of personal transformational stories for you. In order to complete this workflow, you need two sections. First is the input, because we all know that garbage in, garbage out, right? If you're not giving it enough specific personal context, it's not going to be able to help you create a high quality output. So the first is your input. So we're going to go through this first. And then the second thing here is the actual prompt. So the first thing here you need to pay attention to, your positioning statement is essentially one brief sentence that captures your unique value proposition. And I have one simple formula to follow. I help audience A achieve result B with strategy C. Now, let me show you with an example. Let's take the same example as before. Let's say, hypothetically, if I were a small business owner offering sales coaching service, okay? So who is my audience? Let's say my audience is consulting business owners. And what I can have is I help consultants improve their sales call closing rate in less than 90 days using my proven drive framework. So that there is my positioning statement, okay? And then let's look at the next section, which is your audience information. Who are your top ICA? ICA just represents your ideal client avatar. So who is your dream client? So here I've mentioned it's going to be consultants. Okay. This is not my real business here. Obviously, I'm just taking that as an example. What you can do is you can actually follow the process and do this exercise together with me. So your answer will obviously be different, but we're following the same framework. Pain points. So their top pain points are they're not sure what their clients want. Okay, maybe that's number one. Second thing here is I'm just making it up right now. They don't know how to use discovery process in a sales call to identify their clients' needs. Okay. Third is then do not feel confident to actually promote and pitch their services. Their goals is to be able to know exactly what to say confidently to improve closing in order to drive maximum revenue for their business. Okay, so let's look at the next section, story inputs. So story inputs here just refers to what do you want this post to contain, right? In terms of your own transformation. It's optional. You don't have to provide this, but just know that if you don't provide this, your AI tool, Claude here, is likely to just make things up. Right? It's just going to fabricate something for you. So you're not guaranteed to like the fabricated version of the story. Plus, it doesn't feel authentic to you and you probably wouldn't like it. So what I would strongly recommend is you actually take just 1 or 2 minutes, and you can also use AI to help you come up with authentic transformational stories. You can list out some of the biggest transformational stories that you're thinking about and just briefly tell AI your different ideas and ask AI which one is going to be best, right? And that's going to be a very simple process that you can screen down in just a few minutes. But once you have that raw idea, you just need to translate it to this story so your AI tool can use this as inputs to help you write that post. So the first thing here is transformation. What is your high-level journey that you went from X to Y? So X is essentially your original point. I like to also ask you to think about the point of frustration. And then Y is essentially your point of satisfaction. So what was your original point that got you frustrated, that got you thinking about this problem? For example, taking the same example here, my X point could be, I used to be not great at sales, right? When I was just starting out, I was also very nervous of taking sales calls. Before I take every single sales call, my hands would be really sweaty and I wouldn't really articulate my unique value proposition well. And therefore, my closing rate was really bad. Okay, so I can type in my original story here. Then the Y point, which is my point of satisfaction, I can say after 3 years of study and deliberate practice, I am now able to confidently go through every sales call and feel authentic to myself and still be able to convert really well. I can say I can typically convert around 50% to 60% of every qualified lead. Okay, so that's my point of satisfaction. Now, the second point here you need to tell AI as part of your input is what was that main struggle that you went through, that you overcame? So for me, the challenge I was able to overcome to go from X to Y is I used 3 years and had a ton of practice of doing over 1,500 sales calls. And through that experience, I was able to summarize what worked, what didn't, and only apply what worked. Now, the third key piece of information you need to also write down here is what is your result? Or it could say, what's your key achievements here? Because this is more of a business case, you can think of like revenue, right? Like you're able to grow your business to this revenue milestone. If you're a content creator, you can say, hey, I actually started on YouTube. I was able to grow my following to this number, right? Or the timeline, how long does it take for you to achieve this amazing result? Growth rate, hey, my company in the first 2 years grew more than 5 times. Right, client results, I have over 215 clients who were able to say blah, blah, blah. All of that. This is obviously not an exhaustive list, and it would greatly vary depending on your niche, your type of service offered, but you need to list some kind of results here. So for me, let's say, taking the same example, I could say after 3 years, I am now able to close 50 to 60% of all my sales taken, and I was able to double my business during that time. Something like that. I'm just making it up, just as an example, hypothetically. All right, so let's look at the next section, which is your main lessons. This one is where you tell AI from that experience, from this story of mine, what were my main takeaways or lessons I can share that you can write more about in detail to my audience. Now, this is also an optional section, right? You can just provide all the previous information as context and ask AI to help you come up with potential lessons. You can certainly do that, and you can pick the ones that you like and ask AI to further elaborate and write a story about it. But what I recommend is you take a few minutes, again, to think about your main lessons. Then you pick a few that you think are highest quality and then feed it to AI and say, hey, you can actually choose, write this post based on those lessons. That tends to produce a much higher quality post. Now, what I would typically recommend is you have around 3 lessons. If you have more, typically in the range of 3 to 7, that's great. You can add to them. But if it's less than 3, it's not ideal because it's going to appear very not much meaty, right? Your post. At least 3 lessons. And each lesson would be categorized for a different type of insight. So for example, lesson 1 is what I like to talk about, counterintuitive or contrarian insight. Something that's different from the current consensus. Lesson 2 is a system or a secret process or a secret method that you use to go through this transformation. Lesson 3 is your mindset, right? What kind of mindset shift or what kind of mental shift you went through that I think is really critical here. And the last one here is any tools you're using. That's also important. Okay, so if I'm taking the same example, counterintuitive insight is I'll say, hey, sales is not really about pushing, right? It's actually about pulling back as a friend to hear them out, to figure out what is their actual problem, give them the right diagnosis, and if they agree with your diagnosis, then prescribe. So really sitting there as a friend or a consultant and do less pushing. So maybe that's a little bit contrarian. And lesson 2 is system or process. So maybe I'll share my specific process in sales coaching. So maybe I'll say, hey, first you need to start with frame, telling them what to expect on the sales call, and then you can do discovery, right? And then you can do diagnosis, telling them what you think their problem is and to see if they agree. And then you can do prescription, which is the pitch, right? And then you can close. And then lesson 3, mindset shift. So maybe I'll talk about, hey, it's more about going on the call without any expectations, without heavy expectation that this person should close by the end of the call. And then I can also talk about any additional tools I'm using and etc. Now, the last section here is call to action. So usually you can tell AI what is that exact call to action I want to use, or you can ask AI to help you come up with the appropriate one. But usually there's 2 types. You are either asking them to book a sales call with you, or either you or your team to learn more, or you're asking them to join your email list. So either is fine. Just define that and mention it here. All right, so let's look at the next section here, which is the actual prompt. Now, the prompt is definitely the most important piece you have to get right in this entire workflow in order to get AI to help you write a really high quality output. So when it comes to the prompt, the first thing you want to start with is the goal. So I want you to help me write a piece of content to post on LinkedIn or Instagram or X. In this case, it's going to be on LinkedIn. Now, here's my goal. Drive whatever call to action I ask my audience to do towards the end of the post. Usually it's asking them to book a call. Now, here's the type. I'm defining this type of post to AI. This is a personal transformational story post. The purpose of this post is to motivate, inspire, and teach my audience or readers something new, so they have this aha moment and feel like this post is very value-packed. So this is the high-level context and goal you need to give to your AI beforehand, because everything it's going to write afterwards is going to revolve around this objective. Right? Remember, garbage in, garbage out. If you don't define your goal and top objectives, it's going to distract and it's not going to follow that. All right, so then we are going into the structure of this post. Okay, so we're defining the skeleton of this post and telling AI, hey, follow this skeleton and write this post, elaborate the details, and fill each paragraph following this structure. Okay, so here's a structure. The first paragraph would be the hook, right? Something to hook the reader in so it stops the scroll and people pays attention and really feel very curious to read the rest. And then the second thing here is tension setup. What was the problem? What was the challenge you are trying to overcome so that there is a comparison. And the third thing here is bridge to lessons. The fourth paragraph is actually all about your specific lessons. So for example, if I were to take the same example of sales coaching, here is the fourth paragraph is where I lay out all the specific lessons or tips of how to actually improve your closing rate of your sales calls. The next paragraph, the fifth paragraph, is all about proof. So your social proof from clients, all of that to show your audience, to validate that this actually works. The sixth paragraph is where you are closing. You're closing this entire post and share some memorable takeaways, okay? And the last paragraph is your call to action. What specific action you want them to do. This is where you invite them to book a call with you, to join your email list, etc. Now, here's the general structure. You want to lay it out first, and then you want to follow it with specific instructions for each paragraph and how the AI should write each paragraph for you. All right, so before I talk about the first paragraph, which is the hook, I do want to emphasize one thing, which is what I'm going to share in my prompt is really just for demonstration only. Okay, so it's really just to show you an example to start your thinking process. It's actually a very simple process for you to write your prompt, but I want to show you the structure, what I typically use, and what are considered important. Now, everyone's industry and products and services offer are very different, so it's going to vary greatly. So I don't recommend you just copy and paste my prompt because it might not help you produce the best result in your industry. I think at the very least, you should look at it and customize it. Okay, so let's dive in and look at the first paragraph, which is your hook. There are two things that you want to include for every paragraph. The first one is the high-level instructions, which is really telling AI what are the most important guidelines you want it to satisfy every single time when writing this paragraph. Okay, so that's the high-level instructions. And the second one here is you want to show them some common structures for them to write about this paragraph and some corresponding examples. Okay, so let's look at the instructions here. So first is think about what is the purpose of this paragraph. The purpose of hook is to really stop the scroll, right? When people are, for example, scrolling on LinkedIn and reading, typically they can see only the first few lines of each post, right? If it's not stopping the scroll immediately, they're going to skip past it and they're never going to read your post. So the most important purpose of your hook is to just stop the scroll immediately. So you're going to emphasize here first, okay? This is the most important part of this entire post. And then in addition to that, you also want your hook to help you showcase your vulnerability. So if people feel like you are not someone that's perfect and never make mistakes, but someone that's actually real, like a real person just like them, then they're more likely to find you to be more relatable and then therefore more likely to read the rest of your post, right? Because they like you more. They feel like they can relate to you, right? And also you want to keep the vulnerability real, but not overwhelming. Like you don't want to exaggerate it so that it feels fake. So you want to tell AI all of those specific instructions so it's going to be able to write something that's natural and conversational. And from the formatting perspective, your hook should be only 1 to 3 lines long, no longer than that. So now the second section here is you want to provide AI with some common structures. So how you can typically write your hook. Now, this is where your training document really comes in handy here. Because remember earlier in the workflow, you need to gather typically 1 or 2 month worth of content for past content from your favorite influencer, right? So this is where you can observe and read that person's content and summarize or ask AI to summarize a few of the most common ones that they typically use to write their hooks. So what I did was I actually found there are 3 most common hooks that my favorite influencer used most often and were producing the best results for them in terms of their engagement metrics on LinkedIn. So the first one is wealth transformation hook. Second one here is age contrast hook. Third one here is time freedom hook. Let's look at them one by one. The first one, wealth transformation hook. So what this hook is all about, it shows specific income achievement and your promise to teach them how you did that. So here's the specific structure. How I built my company to this revenue milestone while being able to live this lifestyle. Example, how I built my company to 13.8 million per year while traveling the world. If your industry is different, where wealth emphasis is not quite as hooky, then you need to customize this. And I do want to say, even though it's a little bit tacky to always talk about your revenue and sales number, and trust me, I don't like it. I personally don't like to do that, but it just works as something that hooks people and they want to read. The second hook here is age. So this is where you show your current age and talk about what you struggled with in the past, typically when you were younger, and why you are succeeding now, what you did differently in that gap. Structure is, hey, I'm currently age this. When I was younger in the past, I struggled with this. Now I'm succeeding, and here are my X number of lessons. Example, I'm 35 right now. At 18, I was broke, kicked out of my home. Now I make X amount every month. Here are my 9 lessons. Now, this X dollar amount doesn't have to be money. It could be something else that shows results. The third hook here, the third structure here is really talking about time freedom, because people really desire that. Because what you want to do after making money, after being able to get this or that achievement, is you want to be able to buy yourself time, right? That's the ultimate format of freedom. So what you want to do here is show typically working less while achieving better results. Now, in the online business world, better results typically means you're making more for your business, you're earning more. In the corporate world, it means that you're climbing up the corporate ladder and typically get promoted faster. If you're a content creator, maybe it means you are able to produce better content faster and more abundantly. So the structure to reflect this time freedom hook is, if you want to achieve this goal in this amount of time, typically it's in a shorter amount of time, read this. Example, if you want to 10 times your income in 2025, working 4 hours a day, read this. So this is really about the first paragraph about your hook. All right, so for the second paragraph, you follow the same structure where you share the high-level instructions, like guidelines, and then you share one common structure of how it should write the second paragraph and show a corresponding example. Now, I'm not going to repeat all the specific instructions one by one. I don't want to necessarily turn this video into a super long 1 or 2 hour video, but if you want to get the rest of the specific prompt, all you need to do is just to subscribe to my channel, and below this video, opt into my email list, and then I will be able to send the full guide to you. Okay, so now that we have everything, let's try to put it together. So first, you need to open your Claude. I need to warn you that if you have the free version of Claude, it's probably not going to work for this workflow, because it simply just doesn't have this projects feature that you're going to need. So you're going to have to upgrade to the $20 per month plan. So now I have the correct plan here. So what you need to do here is, let's go to projects and first hit new project. So you will create a new project, name that first. Let's say I will name it as content category 1, personal emotional stories. So it's easy for you to reference later. What you're trying to do, so you will simply type your project goals here and give more of the high-level context to Claude. So first I'll say, I am trying to use this project to get you to help me write a social media marketing post that's focused on talking about my own personal transformation. And here's some kind of a context. I'll provide you my favorite writer's content so you can learn and imitate his style and structure. Okay, not his actual content. And you will post for me based on my specific instructions. I would like the tone of the content conversational, natural, and compelling. All right, so that's everything that I'm trying to achieve here, and you would hit create project. Now for here, what you need to do here is you need to get the project knowledge section filled up. So this is where your training document comes in handy. So what you want to do here is you want to pull up your training document. Actually, let me find it here. So here's my training document. What I want to do here is I want to convert this into a PDF. Okay, so PDF format to download, and then I'm going to upload this to the project knowledge section. So click the plus button here, upload from device. It should be under downloads here. So I'm downloading it. Okay, it's done. So here's 1% of project capacity used. What does it mean here? This does not mean it's not fully uploaded. It just means that you have taken 1% of this section's memory, which means you can upload a whole lot more. If you just have one training document, that's totally fine. You can go ahead and proceed. But if you have more of other high quality, for example, other training documents, other past content from different influencers or different writers, you should absolutely gather them and upload them here. So then what you want to do here is you will actually feed AI your specific prompt. This is where we have all of this ready in your prompt here. So what you want to do here is you want to just copy and paste everything over to Claude. But before you do that, you want to make sure that you fill all the answers here. So for example, your positioning statement, you will write it here. The audience information, you'll provide all the specific answers here. So you want to just make sure all the inputs, you fill them out with your answers, and then you would copy and paste them over. So let me do that. All right, done. So pasting it over, and you can say, hi, please help me writing marketing posts based on the instructions pasted here. And then you can hit enter and wait for the result. Now, once you have the result, depending on the quality, you can always chat back and forth with Claude and ask for Claude to iterate for you. If you feel like a certain section is not really perfect and you want it to be changed in this and that way, you can just let Claude know and then it will help you edit. All right, so that's all. If you want to see how I leverage AI to actually automate the entire scripting process of a long-form YouTube video, just like this one you're watching right now, comment video below and I will definitely consider making a full breakdown. And if you want to be able to get free access to the full prompt I used today in Claude, feel free to use the link below, right below this video, to join my email newsletter and you will be able to get a free copy delivered to your inbox. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.